Hello and welcome to another Supernaturally Healthy blog. I'm Kezia Hall, holistic health coach. I run Supernaturally Healthy and I am passionate about cake and green smoothies and mountains and onions cooked in coconut oil and butter. There's a little bit of information about me, but today I'm going to be sharing with you why I don't think whole grains are a health food. I know, a bit crazy, a little bit wild, but let me explain. So often when I'm working with clients or when I'm running my programs, people often say, well, I eat a pretty healthy diet, and they'll show me their food diaries and it's filled with whole grain toast for breakfast, maybe some couscous salad or whole grain pasta for lunch, and maybe dinner might be some sort of like pesto and pasta. It might be another couscous dish with a bit of like sun-dried chicken or something like that. And actually when you look at the day and when you show it to people, you say, hey, look, your whole day, all of your meals have a foundation of whole grains. And I do not think that is healthy. So today I'm going to explain why. Because whole grains have become this staple, this foundation of all of our meals and most of our snacks. And people tend to just load up on whole grain carbohydrates without really thinking about it and really thinking about what their body needs. So when I'm talking about whole grains, I'm talking really about grains, and grains are made up of three parts. You've got this hard outer shell of a grain, which would be the bran. You've got the germ, which is like the core of the inside of it, which has all the nutrients that are available in grains. And then you've got this like starchy sort of endosperm that provides a lot of the starchy food needed for growth, because grains are living things. They are going to sprout. They are seeds. They're going to give life to something. So it's really important that we connect with that of when we're talking about grains and whole grains. And whole grains are when this grain hasn't been processed, the bran hasn't been removed by heavy processing, and it's when it's the seed and the grain is still completely intact. So that's what we're talking about with whole grain, but the principles that I'm going to talk about will also relate to refined grains as well. Things like white flour, white pasta, couscous, bulgur wheat, all of that sort of stuff as well. So what is it that is the problem? We've been told for years and years that whole grains are really good for you, that we should eat lots of them, that as long as you have whole grain and wholemeal pasta and wholemeal bread, then that's really healthy. So let's look at why I don't think, and why lots of people don't class whole grains as a health food. So number one is they contain large amounts of citric acid. Now, citric acid is an enzyme inhibitor, meaning when you consume it and it's getting digested, it's really difficult for your body to digest. And this is because some of the things within the grain itself are there to protect it from predators. A grain is wanting to sprout life, and so it has things inside of it to protect it. And as humans, us with one stomach, we find that really difficult to digest. It also has enzyme inhibitors, like we mentioned, and those will reduce and inhibit the amount of, say, amylase that our bodies want to produce. They reduce the amount of digestive enzymes that we can produce, and anything that halters or disrupts or interrupts digestion is just not a good thing, because despite the phrase of you are what you eat, that's not actually true. You are what you digest. That's the key thing. You could be eating loads and loads of healthy food, but if your digestion is screwed up to the max, it doesn't really matter because it's not getting into your system. So there's the citric acid. This is what is getting in the way of us getting all the good stuff. Because whole grains, there's B vitamins in there. There's loads of other nutrients and minerals in there. But what's the point if they're there, but we can't absorb them? It could be super nutrient rich and dense, but if we can't get them into our bodies, into our bloodstreams, if they can't get to our cells, then it is totally pointless in getting it. And citric acid is one of the things that gets in the way of doing it. Now, there is ways that you can go about reducing the citric acid, which I'll talk about in the end, but that's the one reasons why I don't class them as a health food. Number two is they are heavily processed. For example, wheat in the last 60 to 80 years has just gone under so much processing and genetic modification. It's a really heavily sprayed crop. It makes a lot of money, which is why why most of our foods are based around wheat or corn or soy, because they're the most profitable crops for food industries that are out, making money. And it's just becomes really processed thing. And a really great example of that is if you normally eat wheat and you switch to eating spelt wheat, which is a more ancient, traditional, less messed with form of wheat, you'll often notice yourself feeling so much better. So it's super, super processed, and again, it gets in the way of our bodies assimilating it properly. So that's reason number 2. Reason number 3 is that whole grains have a big impact on our blood sugar. And I've written before about the importance of keeping a healthy and steady blood sugar. And if we're always reaching for whole grains as our form of food and nutrients and snacks and meals, then actually we're just constantly sending our blood sugar and making it unstable. And for a lot of people, not for everyone, but for a lot of people, grains can really contribute to problematic blood sugars. Sure, when something's whole grain, when it has that bran layer on the outside, it often does take longer to digest, so you don't get as an immediate blood sugar as you would with refined carbohydrates. But it's still impacting our blood sugar. So that's reason number 3. Number 4 is that it is not as nutrient dense. Sure, a lot of whole grains do have nutrients and minerals in them, but like I said, we can't often get at them. We often can't absorb them. They can't get to our bodies on a cellular level, and that is the most important thing. So when you're thinking of all the different food groups of proteins and fats and vegetables out there, grains, in my opinion, are really low in terms of the nutrients that they're going to give your body. And number 5, the reason I don't think they're a health food is they're not very filling. I used to be the whole porridge in the morning kind of girl, get myself my porridge and my soy milk, which I used to eat, which is a whole other story, and maybe like a bit of honey in there, and about an hour later I would be hungry. And I have countless of clients where it's the same thing, because again, it's this carbohydrate, whether it's refined or whole grain, is going to just give your blood sugar a big spike. And if there's no fats and proteins in there to add a slower burning process, they're just not going to keep you very full. So those are my 5 reasons why I don't think whole grains are a health food. So for me, I reduce and don't really eat many grains. I occasionally eat rice, and if I do eat grains, then I will soak them overnight. And I will link on my website to a blog I wrote about soaking and sprouting, which is really, really helpful. So in general, why not just think about reducing the amount of whole grains that you eat? Go for fats, go for proteins, go for vegetables. I occasionally will eat rice and maybe some buckwheat, but that is it. And I know for me that when I eat a lot of grains, that's when I tend to put on weight. So this isn't about fear mongering. This isn't about getting you to be afraid of bread. This is just about you being powered with the knowledge so that you can create one supernaturally healthy life, which is the most important thing. And if you're thinking, what on earth do I have as snacks? What on earth do I cook? What treats can I have? Then make sure you get my natural sweetener recipe guide, which is filled with loads of grain-free recipes that are going to keep you full, your blood sugar happy, and also taste really delicious. So make sure you head over to supernaturallyhealthy.co.uk if you're on my YouTube channel, or if you're on my website, you'll just see below where you can get your free recipe e-guide and join my tribe. But let me know your thoughts. Do you disagree with me? Do you eat loads of whole grains? What are your thoughts on how healthy whole grains are? Otherwise, have a brilliant day and keep on creating one supernaturally healthy life.